What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo, and today we're gonna have a shorter video. It's mostly just gonna be about who I think is going to make the finals, who are some teams I think could make the finals, and some other stuff. Also, by the way, I'm gonna make this really short because I got the game going on right now. I'm trying to also shout out my boy Jamar Chase. I'm not trying to get striked though. Let me mute this actually real quick. So let's just get into it. So the teams I think I can make or that I think are going to make the finals are right now. I'm thinking Milwaukee. And right now, I'm thinking, of course, the Los Angeles Clippers. And the reason why I think that the Los Angeles Clippers right now are the best team in the West is that they have a very similar build to the Celtics last year. They just have a bunch of wings that really, I mean, it's not even just a bunch of wings. They just have so much people on their roster that you can just throw out there. I've already made the argument about them, but just looking at all of their pieces, they got a guy like Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, Norman Powell. Norman Powell is a really good player for this team, man, and it's not stated enough. We got Brandon Boston Jr. We got, we already got Kawhi Leonard, we know that, but look at all these guys. Like Amir Coffey is also a really good player. Like these guys are just all very solid. Like they can all make 11-man roster or not 11-man, 8-man roster spots if they could. And that's just not enough to talk, or that's just not enough to say. Now, for my pick for the Milwaukee Bucks, I think that that's a lot more contentious. Well, I think that this is actually the more contentious spot. I think that this is a more agreed upon kind of answer. I think that a lot of people are expecting the Milwaukee Bucks to be the best team in the East again. And that's mostly out of two things. It's out of respect for the Milwaukee Bucks without Chris Middleton, and it is out of just pure luck that they just weren't able to be very safe. So I think that when we look at it from this angle, I think that this team is probably going to be the same team to make the finals. That being said, I do think that they have a lot better competition, and I don't think that they necessarily got as good, or they didn't improve as much as a team like, let's say, Philadelphia. I wouldn't say that they improved as a team like Atlanta, Cleveland, maybe even actually definitely Boston, and maybe even the Brooklyn Nets. So I think that that's something to really look at. Oh man, shout out my boy Saquon Barkley. That motherfucker just scored the tutty. Let's go. But yeah, now the Ravens got to score a touchdown. So yeah, I think that these are the only teams that really have improved to the point where I think that they could be contentious with Milwaukee. But coming down to a couple of teams that I think that are actually going to be trouble for Milwaukee, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be these four or these three. I think that Philadelphia, I think that they are definitely one of the top 5 teams in the East. I've already said that they're definitely in my top 3. Don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. I think that they are in my top 3. I think the teams that round out my top 3 are definitely one of these two, though. And I think that that's going to be something to really look at going into the season. I think that the Boston Celtics are more of an established team, but I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers do have the ceiling to really just make the championship. I feel like a lot of people are underrating the Cleveland Cavaliers too, because once they're fully healthy and they actually have their people on the floor, they're probably a top 3 defense in the team or in the league, and their offense is going to take a massive leap, especially if they are able to trade Karis LeVert to another team for maybe even a 3-and-D player, a guy like Bojan Bogdanovic. But I know that he's already traded the Pistons. I didn't know that until like a couple weeks ago, but yeah. I think that these are the teams that would give them a run for their money. But as I said, I think that my clear-cut pick is definitely going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I think for the West, I think that this is definitely contentious. I think that the Warriors, let me just pull up the Warriors real quick. The Warriors are definitely a good pick. Memphis is definitely a good pick. The Denver Nuggets are definitely a good pick. I would say that these two, I would definitely, not the salary. I'm not trying to look at the salary. I think that the salary, oh no, I'm not trying to see that. I think that these two are definitely picks that you have to see during the season to really make that kind of pick. So yeah. Also, I think that the difference between these 3 teams, also that's my script for the thing, so just ignore that. So I think that the reason why I don't really consider the Warriors to be my really go-to pick is that I think that Nikola Jokic was torching them motherfuckers. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Well, I think that if they were going against Denver, I think the Denver Nuggets would just torch them. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Let's just look at Nikola Jokic's stats for his last his last couple of games against the Golden State Warriors. They were they were insane actually, and I think that he averaged a lot of turnovers if I'm not wrong. Yeah, he averaged an OD amount of turnovers, but I do think that if he's able to score this much while also evolving a guy like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. in the offense, I think that this team is probably just going to blow out the Golden State Warriors. Now, I will say that the Clippers are definitely a lot more contentious, but I think that overall, the Clippers do have a better matchup against every single other team than the Warriors. But I think that the Nuggets will probably knock off the Warriors. That's what I'm thinking right now. I think that their offense is just going to be too much for the Golden State Warriors to handle, especially if Draymond Green were to have a down year this year. I'm starting to expect Draymond Green to have a down year. Now, after that, I don't know what he's going to look like, but I definitely do think that he's going to have a down year this year. I think that the age is starting to get to him, and I think that we've seen that he's not the best mentally on the court, so I think that that's going to be a really good thing to look after. But I do think that the Golden State Warriors, I think that I would not be mad at you for saying that they're the champions. I just think that they do have a little bit going for them, or I think a lot of these other teams have a little bit more going for them. And yeah, so I think the Memphis Grizzlies are actually another team that could knock off the Los Angeles Clippers. I think that the Golden State Warriors could too. The Golden State Warriors could too, but I don't expect them to actually face the Clippers this season. And that's just my opinion. I just don't think that they will. I think that the bracket is probably going to match up differently, and that's the reason why. But I do think that if they do face up against the Clippers, I think that they have enough to actually conceal Jordan Poole and maybe even Curry for a decent amount of time. Now, that being said, that's definitely a speculation thing and not necessarily a guaranteed thing. And it's something that we need to talk about when it comes to like that type of stuff. But hold on. Ray. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I just watched the Ravens and Giants game, bro. The way yo, Lamar, bro, what's good with you? But I think that another thing about the Memphis Grizzlies that I do really expect is that John Morant, along with his teammates, are going to take another leap. I think that a guy like Desmond Bane or Jaren Jackson are actually going to be like considerable stars in this league. I think that they're probably going to jump from the sub all-star. I think that Desmond Bane is definitely a pick for an all-star selection. Not necessarily saying that he's going to be an all-star, but I think that he's going to be an all-star caliber player. I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is also still going to take a step. I think that if we're able to get the defense from this Jaren Jackson with the offense from this Jaren Jackson, I think that this team I think that he's definitely an all-star because I think that he's one of the best defensive players in the world right now, especially if he stops fouling. I think that that's really the biggest thing about these guys. However, I do think that the biggest problem with the Memphis Grizzlies right now is still maybe a lack of experience. I'm not saying that experience is the most valuable thing in the world because we look at a team like the Atlanta Hawks in the 2021 season. They didn't need experience. They were able to, get what they really needed pretty much off the rip. Another team that really didn't have the best experience, I would even say Dallas of last year. They really didn't have the most experience. Another team that didn't have the most experience is actually Phoenix from 2 years ago. So I think that the experience thing is kind of a cop out answer. I think that this team is a little bit different though because I think that this team definitely did look star-studded when it came to the playoffs last year, especially against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think that they also have a really, really bad matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves if they were to go up against them this season. And I think that another team that they could probably struggle against is Denver. And I think that they may not be able to beat I think that they could also beat the Clippers, but the problem is I'm not sure if John Morant is going to have the best series unless they don't go small ball. Let me rephrase that. If they go small ball, I think that John Morant could have a good series. But if they were to play like Zubac, I think it's going to be really tough for John Morant to actually get into the paint sometimes. I'm not saying Zubac is like the best defender out there, but I do think that without like a big interior presence, as we see versus the Golden State Warriors, John Morant will go off, Mr. 38 points per game. I'm not going to forgive that, by the way. But I do think that this team, we do need to see a little bit more from Zaire Williams. maybe Desmond or Dylan Brooks. If not, they gotta trade that motherfucker. Like I ain't gonna lie, this dude needs to get up though. That dude needs to like stop being in the roster. But I think that they may still be like maybe a piece away, even if John Morant or even if Desmond Bain and Jaren Jackson do make the leap. Now, the Denver Nuggets are actually my number 2 pick in the West. I think that if they are able to actually mesh it out, they're probably on pace to be like almost as good as the Clippers. But I think that the problem with this actually lies in health. And I know when we talking about health, we talking about the Los Angeles Clippers. And I don't think that this team is necessarily going to be more healthy than the Los Angeles Clippers. But I'm just going to assume that Kawhi and Paul George don't have like any career-ending injuries this season. The only problem with this team is that Michael Porter Jr. is back. It's probably one of the most ambiguous injuries that we've ever seen. It's very much an anomaly, and I just don't know how to predict that. That's pretty much it. Like, I just don't know how to predict that. I think that their offense is going to be, otherworldly. I think they're going to put up some like Wilt numbers on the offensive end. Like I'm not even joking either. They're probably gonna put up some numbers that we've never even seen before from a consistent offense. These guys are actually probably gonna go insane this year. Now the problem with this team again is that injury, and I think what I've seen so far from the preseason, I actually do like this team a lot. But the problem is again, I'm not sure how Michael Porter. Like if Michael Porter is not out there, even though Jamal Murray and Jokic is, I don't think that they can beat the Clippers. That being said, they've beaten the Clippers before. They've already got better defensively with Bruce Brown, Ish Smith, and Caldwell Pope. I think that if they're able to get like a bit better defensive center, or if they're able to have like a guy like Zeke Naji be a little bit more effective, I think that this is probably going to be what separates them from the Clippers, and I think that that's going to be a really good thing. That being said, that's pretty much all I have for you guys, though. I do think that when it comes down to it, I think that I'm expecting a Clippers-Milwaukee Bucks matchup. If not, I'm probably going to say that another thing that we could see is maybe a Milwaukee Bucks Nuggets matchup. Also, another really good matchup that I really do want to see, but I know that we're probably not going to see it, is Denver-Philly. This is actually a really nasty matchup, and I really want to see that. Is there any good other matchups? I think another good matchup is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Golden State Warriors. I think that that's going to be really good. I expect the Milwaukee Bucks to win that one, though. Also, I do expect Denver to win the one against Philly. Actually, no. I think I prefer Philly to win that one. I think that the defense is going to be enough for Philly to actually get by. Is there any other team that I really want to see in the finals? No, I think that's pretty much it. I think that then another really good matchup would be probably a rematch. But that being said, if it is a rematch, it gotta look different. Like if it looks exactly the same as last year, bro, I'm not gonna watch that. I'm sorry, but I think another really good matchup would definitely be Boston Memphis. That's a very underrated matchup. Boston Clippers is also another underrated matchup. I would really want to see that. But yeah. Also, I'm probably gonna go to the finals one this year if it is in Los Angeles. So yeah, I live like 3 miles away from the Staples Center. I could literally just walk there. So yeah, it's been your boy Nehemiah, aka Neo. I hope you guys are having a great one. Tell me who you guys expect to be in the finals.